for May 14th, 2019 come to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli.
Here.
Mrs. Calderelli.
Present.
Mr. Dunn.
Present.
Mr. Flannery.
Present.
Mr. McCoy.
Here.
Mrs. Miller.
Here.
Mr. McCullich.
Here.
Mayor Ternowski.
Here.
Chief Remutis.
Here.
Chief Gottschalk.
Here.
Solicitor Stark.
Here.
Engineer Sear.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer.
I would call to all of our attention that this is National Police Week. And so we ask, Lord, tonight for your blessings on our police department, especially on our chief, Mark, and on the mayor. We are so grateful for their expertise and devotion to duty. Guide the deliberations of this council. Help them to listen carefully, to speak directly and in good faith, that in all things we may seek your favor for the good of your people. Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had an executive session pertaining to personnel and legal matters. On the agenda, under the consent agenda, we have added number 7, Western Pennsylvania Soapbox Derby, June 7th at 6 p.m. to June 8th on 14th Street, and have deleted under the regular agenda item number H, as in Henry. The H has been deleted. We had some very good news here on the 27th of April. Our borough manager and his wife, April, had a baby girl, Sophia Jane. So we want to congratulate Sophia Jane. So congratulations, Joe and April. If at this present time, will the ladies from the Veterans Office, Ann Barron, Director, and Eleanor Smith, come to the podium, please? As everybody knows, I saw a banner like that in another community in Greene County when I was doing some work down there for veterans. So I inquired about it and I brought it back to Ambridge, and if you noticed on 11th Street and 8th Street, we have those banners up to honor our veterans who went and fought wars and served our military during our, different times, way back from whenever till now, till the present. And we charged $80 for the banner. You get that big banner flying on the street, then you get 2 small banners for your yard to whatever you want to do with them. $10 was added on to it to make it $90 to support that banner program. So if there's any brackets, new banners have to be made, money will go towards that. Another $10 was added for the Veterans Office, because these 2 ladies, Ann Barron has been there for over 50 years. I can remember going down to when I come out of the service in 1974, I went upstairs to the 2nd floor of the old Borough building, and you had to go down a real narrow, dark hallway, and that's where the Veterans Office was. And when you walked into that Veterans Office, there was Ann, and Mitch Wozniak was sitting in there with plastic on the windows, because during the wintertime it was so cold in there, they had space heaters and coats on, and they serviced our veterans. Since I'm with Mr. McCoy, Mr. Pucci, and myself are on the local Veterans Advisory Board, we oversee the office of this Veterans Office here in Ambridge. It's one of 3 satellite offices in Beaver County. And Beaver County is unique because we're the only county in Pennsylvania that has satellite offices. We support the Veterans Office here, as other communities do in Ellicott and New Britain. So we decided to add another $10 onto the banner to make it $100 and use it towards giving it to our Veterans Office because they work so diligently to support veterans. When Ann Barron has started, and with Eleanor coming along 8 years later, well, she's been there for 8 years now since Mitch's death, they take money out of their own pocket, because I've seen it myself, where they give it to veterans who don't have a meal to eat that day, or don't have a place to sleep that night. They need a bed, they got it. They need a wheelchair, they got it. They need transportation to a doctor, they'll go in their own cars and take that veteran to that doctor's office to make sure that that veteran is taken care of. So these two ladies here, in my opinion, are irreplaceable. They do wonderful, wonderful work for our veterans. So on behalf of Ambridge Council and all the veterans who supported the veteran program, there's 72 of us who are on the streets, and there's more coming in. We would like to present to you a check for $720. God bless you guys. But we're gonna have a picture. Come up here. Thanks a lot. Come up. Stand over here. Stand in the middle. Go in.
Yeah, the mayor's coming. Perfect.
This is a nice surprise.
Janet, can you go over to the left?
Your left.
There you go, perfect. On three, 1, 2, 3. Again, 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'd like to take another one, please. That one didn't come up. One second. It was lovely today. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
What is your last name? Smith. Okay, I'm Can you spell your name? B-A-R-O-N? B-A-R-A-N.
Thank you.
Oliver Smith.
Right.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people who do a lot of good for this borough, and they don't want no accolades, they don't say nothing. They just go out and they do some marvelous things for this borough, positive things, all kind of positive things. And they don't want no thanks for nothing. But there's a woman sitting right here in the front with purple on who religiously comes to this council chambers every single month. And if she can't make it, she makes sure that there's somebody who will take her place to say the benediction. She belongs to the Planning Commission. She belongs to the Celebrate Merchant Street Committee. She belongs to, I don't know how many other committees you belong to, the Historical District, the Harbor Board, you name it. And Barb Costas is there for this borough. So we want to thank you for all you do. The next gentleman, accolades could go on for hours too. This gentleman is, I don't know where he gets his energy, but he's there for everything and everybody. Again, he's on the Harbor Board, he's on the on this committee to celebrate Merchant Street. He's an outstanding gentleman for this borough. He's a realtor in the town, and he does a lot. And again, nobody thanks that committee or his committees and so on, so we want to thank you and your committees that are here. There's members here. You can introduce them later. Steve, at this time I want to turn the meeting over to Mr. Rogers, Steve Rogers.
Thank you. I'm here wearing a couple hats tonight, and I thank you very much for that. As president of Rotary, I want to thank you because it's on your consent agenda that you're going to approve our having the car cruise on July 20th, where you're going to be able to close the streets. And I thank you very much for that and for the donation you're giving. The other hat I'm wearing, excuse me, is chair of the Downtown Development Committee. And I mentioned to Joe that we're doing a lot of positive things and we ought to let the council know. So I have a couple things I just wanted to tell you about. The Downtown Development Committee is a small group of volunteers that meets on a regular basis every second Monday. We are assisted by the Beaver County Department of Development, who's hired a Rivertown consultant, which is Paramount, which is our own entrepreneur center here in town. And that group has tried to work and advise with Joe about what's going on with downtown and try to do some marketing. We have 3 focuses right now, and I have some flyers that are in front of you. But one of them is this little flyer right here that says Merchant Street Ambassador Program. And what we've done is we felt that there's a lot of people that want to open businesses, and sometimes it's intimidating to come to the borough office, even though it's got to be the friendliest place to come of any official place. And so we found an ambassador that would be willing to commit on every single block from 3rd through 15th to be an ambassador for new businesses. And what we did is we created a business, a notebook for each one of them that has all the information for contacts, tear-out sheets, information on all the properties at risk, facade drawings so they can talk about which property they're talking about. So somebody can meet with any number of the businesses on their block or any of those blocks and get the information they need to talk about opening a business, but also hear what it's like to operate a business in Merchant, because we have a lot of successful businesses. So that's the one thing I wanted to tell you about. The other focus thing that we are working on is that we're real excited about the streetscape that you've made happen and that Joe's made happen. But we were looking at downtown, trying to look at it through the eyes of people that are coming from other places. And when we know that we have a problem with a lot of vacant buildings, well, even some of our existing buildings that have businesses, they're starting to look shabby, and it will look more so once the streetscape's done, because it's going to look beautiful. So what we decided to do was to do something to clean up Merchant. So we are proposing as a subcommittee of our downtown development to do something called Celebrate Merchant, putting a shine back on Merchant Street. And that's a long sheet in front of you. And that's sort of our worksheet that we've been working through. In fact, we just had a meeting over in the fire department for a half an hour, and we're going great guns. And the idea is to get about 20 groups, teams, to come out on a day and for about 2 or 3 hours volunteer with the businesses to clean up all the storefronts, to wash them down, hose them down, paint some rusted doors, clean up some vestibules, and then have a little picnic afterwards in the new park where Charles Men's store was. So I wanted to share that with you because I think it's a really potentially positive thing. And as of our committee tonight, we have almost 7 of the teams set up, the 20 or 25 that we need to do it. We have 102 buildings, and even the good ones are looking a little worn sometimes. And we're going to work with the business owners to try to be part of that team and sort of make everybody feel good and be a part of the ownership of what you've all done to clean up Merchant Street. And then the last thing we've done is we've talked about how we can help market Merchant, and that's our next focus, what we just talked about. And we've had a focus to start talking about how we increase the housing above, because there's a whole neighborhood on the 2nd and 3rd floors of these properties, some of which aren't being used and could be. Lots of places, Lawrenceville, others, artists live upstairs and have their shop downstairs, and how do we promote that? So that's one thing. The other is to promote people moving into the businesses. And so we're working on a marketing plan to try to get the information, once again, located in the borough so that people that are interested can come and find out about the businesses or buildings that are empty to see what can happen. So we just want to let you know that there's some good positive things being done. We know the borough has a lack of resources to some degree to other staff, and we're trying to provide that through a volunteer group. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Do you want to introduce some of the members that are are here on that committee.
Oh, right, so anybody that's here from a membership from our downtown development or committee, raise your hand, you know? We've got a small group here tonight.
Okay, good, thank you for being here. Citizens portion, you have 5 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak, please come forward, sign the register. You have 5 minutes.
Mike Rogers, I live at 424 Merchant. Back in October, I asked about a no turn on red at 4th and 65. Whatever happened to that?
I don't know if you asked for a no turn. I think.
I did, no turn on red on
You were
165.
You were talking about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the signal was too short.
That
or
was
something.
later on. That was 3 months ago. Back in
That was
October.
corrected. I'm not sure about the no turn on red, sir. I don't know about that.
Because if there's a car parked in the left-hand lane, you cannot see what's coming up.
Okay. All
And the
right.
lights have been changed on 4th and 65 also, you're saying?
They have been, yeah. PennDOT went down and corrected them.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
Doug McCombie, 638 Maplewood Avenue. I just wanted to say that riding through town the last couple of days, it's really looking good down there. You guys are doing a good job. I
Thank you.
noticed some of the benches going in and some of the brick paving down there. It's really looking good, and I hope, I hope we get good results. Really, you guys really did a good job, and just really appreciate it. Then the other thing I noticed was over here across the street, some building was going on. What's going on in there? Do you know? Is
It's
that
storage facility.
storage?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my question is, I think it was last year, or may even been before that, we were talking about a senior center down here somewhere, weren't we? We had somebody come in and gave a presentation. Is that dead, or is that still going on, do you know?
If I'm not mistaken, I think they're still having financial problems.
Okay.
And they're trying to get finances in order.
Okay. I was wondering about that. Like I say, my wife deals with a lot of elderly, and, trying to find them a place to live is, it's getting tougher and tougher, but I was just wondering what the status was on that. Anything about a grocery store going on, Mayor?
So far, we're still looking. I mean,
Okay.
I told my campaign that I'll try hard, and Joe and I have been trying hard.
Yeah.
We've talked to several businesses, and it's just, all of them just won't give that up. And we just spoke a couple of days ago, Joe and I, about invading there. You got Aldi's, and then you
Yeah.
got that new Dollar General moving in. Wait about 6 months and see how their business is. Maybe we could still convince them to move here in Ambridge and maybe close the one up in Bade, because that one might take away from them a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of walking, but we're working.
Okay.
I work hard, and we're still working hard.
I understand, there's a lot of work to be done, but like I say, you guys are doing a good job, really. And I came across something last week, and I don't know if you might want to put it with the archives in the showcase or something, but I'd like to give you guys this. How many remember the Ambridge economy stamp books?
Oh, yeah.
Remember
Oh,
them?
yeah. Yeah.
And then they had certain businesses in there, and
Yeah,
you got
that's the
$2
S&H
after you
stamps,
filled
too,
the book up.
Is that the S&H stamp or the green stamp?
No, they're the purple ones. They're called the economy stamps,
Okay.
Ambridge economy stamps. So I really have no use for it. If you guys want to put it in a showcase,
Sure.
open it up and let people see it,
Sure will, thank you.
I think that'd be pretty neat.
Appreciate it, thank you very much. Anybody else?
Hello, my name is Kathy Holler, and I live at 824 11th Street. And I'm here for a couple comments and maybe some feedback. I know we've been doing a lot of construction and different projects in the town over the last couple years. And I'm wondering why these outside services just come into our community, block off roads, block off access to your front door without justified notice. I know it's not convenient. I know in the end it can be better. But number one, we have Youngblood that comes in and has done paving. They happen to do 11th Street. Not out looking for something to complain about. I happened to be out of the country at the time. Their notice was this piece of paper in a mailbox, not dated, that says, we're gonna start tomorrow. Move your cars. Now, had I not been where I was and left my car for oil change and overhaul while I was gone, my car would have been parked out front, and I wouldn't have moved it. And I would have been considered obstinate. But that's not it. We have the project now that came in on Merchant Street. I made an appointment with Gordon Hancock on March 20th. Invited him in, I showed him my concerns, and he told me it would be at least a good month before they started. I pull up on the 10th of April, preparing to unload and do some things at my front door, one to make a basket for the cash bash for the firemen. And there I was with a big machine and all this stuff just blocking my way in. No notice. And even if you ask for notice and tell them what your concerns are, or what your needs are, or your hang-ups are, I have an issue with the right foot. My right foot doesn't work. I asked them to bridge me between my front door and the door upstairs. They did it first, and then they didn't any longer. I had a vault under my front door. From the last revitalization, they planted a tree. The roots of the tree infiltrated, and I've been bailing water for 30 years. I put in a stationary tub. I had people caulk all the cracks and do everything that I thought could maybe be a possible problem in bringing on the water. Lo and behold, when they dug out the tree, they were laughing. And the Martino guy and the bulldozer let me know that we have the third most criminal town in the state. They're down there laughing at us while they're making Davis-Bacon Wage Act. Now, I'm not trying to be difficult, but they busted into my foundation. You can go into the basement and look up and you can see daylight. I've been texting Councilman Caffarelli right along with pictures. He came up on 11th Street when Youngblood paved, and he saw what my concerns were, and the people, who picked the people to do the curbs? I mean, was that a little bit ridiculous? I mean, you'd have to scratch your head, right? Fix this one and these are all falling apart. And what do they tell me? Well, there's only so much money to go around. I'm all in for basic, clean, and neat, and then fancy up. And even down on Merchant Street, what happened to our benches and things that were there? Did they get moved to our other parks?
No, they'll be replaced.
Yeah, but what happened to the ones that were there that were still useful?
And they're gonna be added, they're gonna be put back with new ones.
But where's the old ones?
They're in storage right now.
And they're gonna be put back? Or
Yes,
they're gonna
that's
go
my-
into
that's my
the
understanding.
other parks?
I don't know where they're gonna be put, I didn't see the plans for that yet, ma'am.
Where are they stored?
Public Works Department,
Okay, I was told that the contractors took them.
I'm not sure about that,
No.
no,
We still have them, and they're gonna go in our
Mhm.
parks or whatever?
yes, ma'am.
All right, that's a good idea. Now, the next thing is, even though I
Your
objected,
5 minutes are up, ma'am.
I know, but I asked to be put on the agenda, and here's my letter, and I don't know why I wasn't. But while I have your
You have 5
attention.
minutes, your 5 minutes are up, ma'am. Come on down to the bar, that's
Here,
okay,
I'll-
you don't have to come forward here, that's all right,
Here, I'll
stay
give,
back there.
I'd like to give you each a copy of this.
We have a copy of it.
No, you don't have a copy of this.
No, just leave it there, we'll get it
This is
from
the
you.
organizational chart.
Ma'am, just leave it there, we'll get it from you. We'll get
I'd
it
like to
from you.
put in a record, this is the organizational chart of the town, and if you notice, Who's at the top of the pyramid? Ambridge residents.
Ma'am, your 5 minutes are up, please.
Okay,
Thank
next
you.
time you can put me on the agenda.
Thank you.
'Cause I'll be
Anybody
back.
else?
Yeah, I do.
My name's Nick Diamantis, and I live on
Could you
228.
sign the paper there, please?
What?
There's a paper right there in front of you.
Oh.
Just your name and so on. Thank you.
Like I said, my name's Nick Diamantis, and I live at 228 Locust Street, and I'm here to complain about 2 properties on there, 226 and 224. Those 2 houses are in shambles, overgrown weeds that are turning into trees, and it's a shame. 224 has been unoccupied for 35 years, and the people, I told the borough manager about it before, nothing's been done at all on 224. And 226, I find out through court records, is owned by Valley Realty. And they've been renting that house out now for the past 2, 4, 6, 8 residents that have lived there 2 years apiece. And those houses are, no way can pass code. No way in the world, unless they have indestructible parts. And something has to be done about that. That's making our street look real bad.
Okay. We'll take a look at it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? If not seeing anybody else, we'll go into the approval of the minutes for April 9th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Calderelli, second by Mrs. Miller. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. Approval of the ratified bills and bills and expenses, unpaid $91,851.32, paid is $55,916.43.
So moved.
Mrs. Miller, second by Mr. Flannery, or Mr. Dunn? Thank you. Any questions on the bills? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. The consent agenda, items 1 through 7. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Flannery. Second by Mr. McCoy. Any questions on any of the consent agenda items? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Under the new business will be number A, consider action to approve the land development plan of Phase 2 of the Harmony Storage Facility at 1201 New Economy Drive, as recommended by the Borough Engineer, the Ambridge Planning Commission, and the Beaver County Planning Commission.
So moved.
Mr. Caffarelli, second by Mr. Flannery. Any question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. Consider action to approve the land development plan of a compressed natural gas vehicle fueling station at the waste management facility of 2097 Dust Avenue as recommended by the Borough Engineer, the Ambridge Planning Commission, and the Beaver County Planning Commission.
So moved.
Mr. Flannery? Second by Mr. Dunn. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCollum?
Yes. Consider action to adopt resolution number 2019-3, a resolution of the Borough of Ambridge authorizing the application of Greenway Trails and Recreation Program funding for the Henny Street Park Development Project.
So moved.
Mrs. Miller?
Second.
Mr. Dunn? Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCollum?
Yes. Action, consider action to hire Dennis Baker as a part-time firefighter code enforcement officer.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Caffarelli and Mrs. Miller. Very impressive, Mr. Baker, very impressive.
Mr. McCoy,
Chief,
both firefighters are here tonight, both Dennis Baker and Jordan Turner are here tonight. If council would like to meet them, ask them any questions they might have for Dennis, you want to stand up and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Dennis Baker. I've been with the Baden Fire Department for 23 years, and I currently work for the City of McKeesport Fire Department as well as a paid firefighter. I'm currently the chief in Baden. Grew up in the fire service. My dad joined the Baden Fire Department in '77. I was born in '78, so I was born and raised in it. Through mutual aid, we've been in Ambridge many times over the years, through Chief Dranowski and Chief Gottschalk, as well as they've supported us in fires in our town. I'm trained to the firefighter 2 level. I also have my fire inspector through the state, vehicle rescue certification, a lot of technical rescue certifications. And I look forward to the opportunity to work here.
That's good. Welcome aboard, brother.
I have a motion and second. I need a roll call on his acceptance.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCollum?
Yes. Consider action to hire Jordan Turner, a part-time firefighter and code enforcement officer. Again, I've had the privilege of knowing Mr. Turner for a very short period of time since I'm a fire police with our mayor as a fire police, and Mr. Turner joined our department here a couple months ago, and his credentials are in front of you. They're impeccable. So again, we got 2 great guys joining the department as part-time and code enforcement officers. Do I have a motion
I
to
made the
accept?
motion, Janet. I
Mrs.
second.
Miller, and second by Mrs. Calderelli. I'll do the roll call, then he can come up, okay? Thanks. Roll call on that.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Present. Oh, yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCollum?
Yes. Mr. Turner?
Hello, my name is Jordan Turner. I'm pretty new to the Ambridge area. I just got back from a year-long deployment in Africa. Currently in the U.S. Navy Reserves as an E5. I joined the fire service when I was 14 as a junior fireman in 2007, and I currently work part-time for Westchurch Fire Department in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I just look forward to serving this new town that I'm in, and thank you for the opportunity. That's all I got.
We welcome you as a former sailor here, Mr. McCoy. Navy man. Congratulations.
Sir, good luck.
Chief, have anything to say?
Yes, I've known both of these firefighters I've known Dennis Baker for quite a few years, and Dennis has proven himself over and over again as an excellent firefighter. Jordan, as you said, Mr. McCulloch, just got into the volunteers, and since he's been in the volunteers a couple of months, he's proven himself to a great extent over and over. Both coming down to the station, showing the enthusiasm, and at fire scenes. So I'm glad we have both of them on our department. And I think they're both going to make a huge impact on this department.
Very good. Captain Greg, you have anything to say?
I've worked with both firefighters for 12 years. I worked with Dennis, been through some fires with him, and I'm still here.
That's a good thing.
And actually last week we had a large fire in Crescent Township, and myself and Jordan were one of the interior teams, and he was very well composed for only being a volunteer here in Ambridge for a few months. So I think we got the luck of the draw, and these two gentlemen will do really well with them.
Very good, thank you. Welcome aboard, guys. Thank you. Any council member have anything to say? Number F, consider action to enter an agreement with the Reed Oil Company for the purchase of diesel fuel at Pittsburgh Litmus Rack average price plus 0.04 per gallon, as they were the lowest responsible bid received by the Beaver County Council of Governments.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Flannery, second by Mr. Dunn. Can you explain a little bit about that, Mr. Carr?
Yeah, the COG changed the way they bid the diesel fuel for us. Before in the past, it was a flat dollar amount. This time they referenced this Opus rack price. When your council packets were put together last week, the daily price was $2.16. You'll be locked in at the Opus price the day that the contract's signed. So whatever the Opus price is tomorrow, that's what your diesel fuel will be for the term of this contract. So it's probably in the ballpark of $2.16 per gallon.
Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. Consider action to enter a preventive maintenance agreement with 2D Mechanical Systems for the service of the Borough building HVAC system at the cost of $1,968 per year.
So moved.
Mr. Flannery.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Calderelli. Mr. Carter, would you like to address this, please?
There's a new HVAC system on the Borough building. We just replaced it about a month and a half ago. We've always had a preventative maintenance agreement, even on the old system. They come out, do the filters, check belts, that kind of stuff, multiple times throughout the year. This basically just reestablishes it with the new vendor who supplied us the new HVAC system.
Any question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. H has been deleted. We'll go to what the agenda says I. Consider action to award contract in the amount of $180,908.04 to Youngblood Paving Incorporated for the 2019 paving program, which includes Merchant Street between 4th and 8th Street and 2 Merchant Street municipal parking lots, and accept bid alternate number 1 to repave the upper alley between 4th and 6th Street. Oh, excuse me, 5th and 6th Street.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Flannery, second by Mr. Dunn. Do you want to comment on this a little bit about why we included the alley between 5th and 6th Street?
Pretty much just bids performed better than anticipated. Chris can probably elaborate, but our budget for the Merchant Street and the 2 parking lots was $200,000. We had bid alternates built into the specs so that if bids came back affordable, we could use the money more appropriately, and that's what happened here.
Yeah, and Mr. President, just so you know, there have been multiple occasions of people complaining about the condition of that alley, which is
horrible.
Which is why you had me look at it.
Yeah.
so we could possibly get it paved in the
Yeah.
first place, and I'm happy that the bids came in well enough
Yeah,
that you can afford it.
I'm very pleased too, because that place was just absolutely horrible. It's gonna be paved now, and it'll be nice and smooth for the people who have businesses and live there. Any questions on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Colorelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. Consider action to exonerate the Beaver County Tax Claim Bureau from collecting of 2015 to 2019 delinquent real estate taxes on Beaver County owned property identified as 12-006-0101.012, property located behind the 911 center. Have a motion to accept that.
So moved.
Mrs. Calderelli? Mr. McCoy? Excuse me. Mr. Carr, would you like to elaborate on this one, please?
This was at the request of the chief assessor. The county purchased property behind the 911 center. It was owned by another county agency historically, so it wasn't really a private property transfer. There was a number of prior years of delinquent real estate taxes. It accounted to a couple $100 in borrowed money. It really wasn't substantial. They asked for those taxes to be exonerated now that the property's in the county's name.
Thank you. Any question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller? Yes. Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. Consider action to hire Amy Richard Chumchick as part-time police officer. I hope I pronounced that properly.
So moved.
Shane.
Second.
Mr. Flannery and Mrs. Calderelli, second. Any question on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy? Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolidge?
Yes. Chief Ramirez, would you like to introduce?
That's Chumchick. Shane, stand up, please, if you want to explain your name.
My name's James
I
Chumchick.
apologize
That-
for.
That's all right. No big deal. I'm from Rochester. I work in Rochester and Conway as of right now. I graduated academy last year, so I've been working for about 8 months. I'm just excited to open a new opportunity and see how I can serve the town of Ambridge.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. On board.
Thank you.
Any comments on him, Chief Ramirez?
He came recommended by the chiefs for whom he's working right now. Like most police departments across the country, we're having, personnel problems. It's not a good time to be a cop. Not a lot of people want to be a cop. So when I find one who's recommended, who passed the test and looks fit and ready and proper, I'll certainly welcome him aboard.
Thank you. We got three good gentlemen who are going to add great assets to the borough. We appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen. Code enforcement, code committee.
Multiple zoning related permits have been issued, as well as the residential and commercial program ongoing, and the high grass ongoing time has been dedicated to sweeping zones for high grass, and all 4 zones were swept for ordinance violations. That's it.
Any questions on the code committee? Chief Glashow, do you have anything under code?
No, sir. I'll hold for right now.
Okay. Public Safety Committee.
As I start this, I'd really like to commend both chiefs. I think we actually almost have fun at our public safety meetings now. And well, if I wasn't there, you'd have fun. But we're getting so much accomplished as we meet, and it's kind of nice to say that and mean it. The mayor, I think you would concur?
No doubt about it.
Well, we got some good news. We had an ISO inspection. We're hopeful for the turnout. They also reviewed our trucks. They told us that they're probably in pretty good shape and no need of major repairs. The grant award hasn't been announced. It'll probably be in June, and I'm sure the chief will keep us informed. Just to let you know, already we're talking about a contingency plan if we don't get something instead of waiting till the end. And that was for the air packs that are the date of 2002. So we're hopeful. Public safety agrees with the hiring of the two gentlemen that we did tonight. And when they're training and everything, of course, it'll be the chief, the assistant chief, and Captain Gorecki. So I feel very at ease saying that they'll do well. We also brought up a area that our fireworks ordinance is only really for commercial shows, and we're trying to be preemptive with residential in the neighborhood and trying to work out some inner workings between police, fire code, and how we can do it. And we'll get back to you next month with what we have. We also had the borough manager put out bids for towing companies, and public safety kind of felt that this should be done every couple years just to keep it fresh and know what we have to do. Crossing guards, we don't have any extras. So at times, you will not see a crossing guard. The chief puts a man there, but if they get a call, they must respond to the call. So we're trying to work on that. We're trying to get some ideas. We'll have a follow-up in June. The police chief is going to try to be downtown on Council Tuesdays. So he'll get yelled at, and then he'll come down here and yell at us what he's heard. He'll probably will be in the chamber building. If not, he'll be downtown. We're also reviewing the policies that, just for updates within the operation of the police department. And later on in the year, we'll look at the fire department. And we reviewed vandalism and construction and traffic issues in the downtown. And I'd like to thank you all for laughing when I made a mistake. I thought that was very nice. Thank you. Any questions?
I do. I just have one comment. And I'd like to ask the chief and the mayor.
Make sure your mic's on.
If we can just make sure that now that it's gonna be summertime, that we're driving past the parks at dusk to make sure there's nobody in there, following all the, so there's no graffiti on a new park or vandalism and unnecessary activities.
Yeah, what, if I may, Mr. President, Mark got a dry erase board for daily activities, so when the guys leave the police station, he's noting down highlights of what to be aware of, like the 8th Street Park closes at dark, and Walter Panic Park, plus your tennis court, plus things are going on downstream, so just an early update.
Good. Anybody else have anything on the public safety?
Mr. President, too, if I may, could Chief Remudas just briefly go over the activities that went into the police department and some of our arrests so that the citizens know that their police department and what they're doing and how we're aggressive, especially on drugs and...
Well, I'd just like to make the one comment, Mr. President, is that all right?
Sure.
If I may, we had a rather dynamic drug raid at the end of April. I'm sure everybody knows about it, heard about it, saw it on the news or something like that. What I want to say is that all started with citizens telling us what's going on in their neighborhoods and making the complaint and telling us that, we're seeing people coming in and out of this apartment all hours of the day and night. They're going in, spending a few minutes, and coming back out. Well, it doesn't take a genius to know that there's something going on there. But that's the kind of information that we need from citizens. I mean, any one of my officers can drive past a house a dozen times in a day, but we don't know as much as you know in that neighborhood to be able to say that, well, those people are on vacation, that door shouldn't be open, or that light shouldn't be on, or things like that. So if you see these things, if these things somehow bring your attention, let us know. It's not a bother for you to tell us, hey, I think there's something going on here, because you see what developed from just some people in the neighborhood saying, hey, there's something going on here. So I encourage you folks to do that, to tell us that, to let us know. We had 2 entry teams down there, our own county team and the Attorney General team came down for that. The person we were after in there had I think it was a 37-page rap sheet with some very violent crimes that he's committed and done time for in the past. And we didn't do that just for show, we did that for safety. But it does send a message, and like I said, it all came from citizen complaints in the neighborhood. So we appreciate that, and we ask you to keep it up and let us know.
Also, Chief, if I may say, you had a drug bust on the 1000 block of Bernardine Avenue. You had another one on Hazel Avenue. So I think so far for this year we had about 8 drug busts. Not just people just smoking a joint or something like that. These are dealers that are selling it. So we're keeping on them.
And I have a picture here of what an officer found on just what we would call a routine traffic stop. Somebody went through a stop sign and the officer pulled him over for that stop sign. Was able to develop things a little bit further than that. Got 4 pounds of marijuana, 2 guns, money, scales, packaging equipment, all from just a little tenacity and just doing his job.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
I just want to commend I know Mr. Flannery has touched on it, the ISO test. I seen firsthand where Fire Chief Gottschall, Assistant Chief Larrick, and Captain Gorecki and his team, 13, went through to get this test prepared. They went through a lot of paperwork, a lot of equipment check. It took over a week to make sure that everything was in order, so when they had this test, that Ambridge possibly could get a better rating, so our homeowners insurance could even be dropped, because that affects the homeowners insurance, our ISO tests. So I want to thank the chief, assistant chief, and the captain, and the fire department for their outstanding work on that preparation for that ISO test. So thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else under public safety? Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Works Committee monthly report for May of 2019. Street sweeping is underway every other week and increased at the French Point Creek watershed area. Grass cutting is underway at all borough properties, the parks, all the right-of-ways, and abandoned properties in the borough. Electricians working on the electrical service and lights at 8th Street Park and at the Pavilion. Crews added playground mulch to 8th Street Park and play equipment. 12 new picnic tables have been installed within the new 8th Street Park Pavilion. The streetscape project. Crews hanging new traffic signage in the completed project areas and is refurbishing parking meters for the municipal parking lots. They'll soon will be installing benches and trash cans in the project area. Shade tree maintenance, contract has been performed tree removal and trimming work. He started in April 30th. That's Graham. Is he?
He's done.
He's done? I was just gonna ask you. Okay. How many trees did he take down in the borough?
I'm not sure. There was a comprehensive list.
Well, he's done for the year, right?
Yeah. Everything that was recommended by the
Shade Tree Commission
has been completed.
Okay, thank you. New street trees, 10 new street trees were planted on 8th, 13th, and 14th Streets on May 4th. with the assistance of volunteers from the Committee to Clean and Beautify Ambridge. The crew hung the new military troop banners we touched on tonight on 11th and 8th Streets. Crew continued to install catch basins, nets in the designated catch basins per the MS4 plan requested by the DEP in the French Point Creek watershed. As far as equipment maintenance on our equipment, street sweeper inspected, didn't need anything, that's a big plus. Truck 1, the F550 inspected, didn't need anything as well. Skid steer door has been repaired. Sign maintenance is ongoing, replacing missing signs in the borough and repairing the damaged ones at their locations. Ongoing maintenance has been dedicated to filling potholes and repairs to the multiple alleys. And of course, finally, the foreman responded and marked and reported all multiple PA1 call requests. That's all I have for May of 2019, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Caffarelli. Anybody else under public safety? Public works, excuse me. I have something under public safety. Again, I want to commend the chief again and your department for, and Mr. Cower for getting a $12,000 grant for the paid department and another $12,000 for the volunteers, for a total of over $24,000 in grants that we just saw in the paper from Representative Massey. So thank you guys again for your hard work and dedication on that. On the public works part of it, I want to make something perfectly clear here. Our borough contract with the tree trimmer is completely different from what you're seeing out there as far as Duquesne Light is concerned. Don't confuse the two, or don't compare the two as one. We're going out there and we're trimming trees and we're cutting trees down as we see fit and doing it the proper way. And we're replacing the trees when we take them down. Duquesne Light Company comes in, even though we complain over and over and over again, believe me, we complain to these people that they just butcher these trees, butcher them. And to the point where we had to remove 4 trees on 8th Street because they were just so drastically damaged. We had to remove them. They just were not coming back together again, and so we just had to take them down. The Duquesne Light Company does one thing, and they don't care how they trim the tree. They just take the tree and they just trim it around the wires. They don't care what it looks like. They don't care if they damage the tree. They don't care if they kill the tree. Where we, as on our side, as a borough side, we come in as an arbor community, make sure that everything is proper done by the Arbor Society and our arbor rules, and we have a contractor who follows those, and we pay them properly. And then we replace trees that we take out. So I just want to make sure that everybody's aware the two difference. So if you see a tree that's completely destroyed, that wasn't us. Anybody else under Public Works? Parks and Recreation.
My committee met this morning. Myself, Janet Caldarelli, the borough manager, and the mayor were in attendance. We discussed and decided upon preliminary plans for Henning Street Park to move forward and begin applying for grants, monies. Those preliminary plans include, of course, fencing, very similar to what is around the 911 center. A splash pad, a bathroom, pavilion, and play set. And Mr. Cower will do his magic and get us all the grant monies we need to pay for it. And we'll let you know the status as we move along.
Anybody under Parks and Recreation? Engineers report.
Thank you. There should be no surprises here because pretty much everything on this report are items that you have acted on previously this evening, but we'll run them down and recap this for you. The Merchant Street and the municipal parking lots resurfacing, as you know, that opened those bids and you recommended award of that bid this evening to Youngblood Paving. The Henning Street Playground project that Ms. Miller just mentioned, I provided them with a concept plan to go along with their funding application. Items 4 and 5 were the 2 site development plans that you approved earlier tonight, the waste management compressed natural gas vehicles filling station and the Harmony self-storage facility across the street there. Item number 6 was your Ambridge Parks project from last year. I'm just chasing down the contractor to try to get him to do some cleanup work around his work sites. He has actually done cleanup around the new play set down at the 8th Street Park, but he still has to do the same work around the pavilion, and he has to do some work up around the basketball courts. And I spoke to him about this just yesterday, and he's aware he still has to do this work, and I feel pretty confident that he's going to get to it. And that is about all I have for you this month.
So when we're ready to start paving Merchant Street, when everything is done except for the paving, the young bloke's gonna come in and start paving?
Yes, in fact, I should have mentioned, since you decided you did recommend to, you did approve awarding that, I will contact him first thing and set up a pre-construction meeting so we can confirm his schedule, what he's gonna do. The idea is to have him come in as soon as Biano is done with their streetscape project, which we are anticipating to be done by the end of June. So basically, I expect Youngblood to start ideally July 1st.
Okay. I think it's only proper to let people know here that I think what's starting next week, Merchant Street from 4th to 5th?
5th to 6th.
5th to 6th will be closed for approximately 1 week. That is to be done for electric to go from one side to the other side, from the riverside to the hillside, if you will, because the electric on the side that they're doing now, there is none, and it has to be put underneath the street in order to connect the other side. And then 6th Street will be closed for a week, and then 7th Street will be closed for a week. So there'll be 3 blocks that will be closed periodically down the street, and hopefully everything will be done by the end of June, like our engineer stated. But again, we told you that we were going to be done at a certain time, and 2-3 weeks later, we're still working on it. So again, depending on the weather, depending on the conditions, everything works out well, we should be okay by the 4th of July.
Mr. President, can I have the floor?
Mrs. Miller.
I'd like to add to my report, I failed to mention that including in those preliminary plans for the park, there will be parking as well, like a paved parking area, kind of where the cars are parking now. And we're keeping in mind that it's in the historic district as well. Also, I'd like to mention that the dog park is back open. It's been reseeded, grass grew. That's it.
Okay. Anybody else under any reports? Do I have a motion to accept official reports?
So moved.
Mr. Flannery?
Second.
Mrs. Caldarelli? Any questions on any of the reports? Roll call, please.
Mr. Caffarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Calderelli?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Flannery?
Yes.
Mr. McCoy?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. McCoolish?
Yes. Any unfinished business?
Mr. Chairman, may I have the floor?
Mrs. Caldarelli?
I'd like to address the Teddy Bears for Kids in Crisis program. I'm partnering with the police and fire chiefs, and we're asking the residents to donate teddy bears, which will be placed in the police and fire vehicles. And in the event of an emergency where children are involved, they will be given a teddy bear to comfort them and calm them down. This is a project near and dear to my heart, and I'm asking everybody out there to help me make this a success. And I'm extending that invitation to everybody seated at this table also. Thank you.
Okay, nice program, thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Flannery, second. Mrs. Miller, all in favor? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.